Tell me your secrets and ask me your questions. Now let's go back to the start.
As long as God gave me the strength to endure, I continued to allow myself to be the punching bag for this congregation, experiencing the consequences of being the only one choosing to act. There came a point where God was no longer giving me the strength I needed to continue in those circumstances, on purpose, because, quite frankly, it was time for me to get the hell out of there. My best guess is that a few influential people remain convinced that the dominant group is divinely appointed and that those who rank lower in hierarchy must not cause division, while the rest are simply following the example others set for them. If anyone does recognize the problem, then he or she has weighed the benefits and costs, and to this day chooses to maintain the status quo, simply deciding not to act. What my experience has taught me about religious tolerance. Examining what we believe is not wrong. If what appears to be truth is in fact truth, it will stand under scrutiny.
Questions of science, science and progress, did not speak as loud as my heart. Tell me you love me.
Pointing out theological error is not the same thing as causing division. Within each religion there are different ideas about non-essentials of the faith. Disagreeing about these does not mean we dislike each other or that we need to count each other as unfit to serve or minister. Disagreement is not the same as disorder. It may not be picture perfect or feel safe, but if it is done in love, it will not do any permanent damage.
It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. I'm going back to the start.
Unity and tolerance does not mean we always agree on everything. It just means we cooperate with each other in our common goals. It is important to know why you believe what you believe. It is wrong to violate your conscience just because you could lose a job, friends, title, or reputation. It is wrong to hold the tenets of any organization over those of the moral standard God has given to every human being. That is, we are all created in His image, and we are to treat each other with dignity and respect. Christians represent Jesus Christ first, not the institutional church system. It is wrong to think that any one denomination or religion has a monopoly on the entire truth without any exception. Even Hitler spoke some truth. Every belief system is wrong about something. We should choose very carefully those beliefs which we would uncompromisingly defend. Defense of your faith should never involve physically harming or punishing others. It is good to socialize with those who have different beliefs.
I was searching, you were on a mission. Then our hearts combined like a neutron star collision.
This is a map of over 150 people from Facebook who have stories of their journey to freedom from religious oppression similar to mine. The map hangs on the wall above my computer desk. The majority consensus seems to be that we ought to remain relatively unorganized to avoid the corruptive influence of stratification.
And if we die,
creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God, for the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope that the creation itself will be free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God.
No one wants to listen. Hail the preachers, fake and proud. Their doctrines will be cloud, then they'll dissipate like snowflakes in an ocean. Love is forever.
What is it that frightens us about each other? Asked Rabbi David Kay of Oved Shalom, the first speaker in a seminar called How to Be Tolerant in an Intolerant World. Kay asserts, eventually we have to sit down and talk about what we don't agree on. Kay contends that diversity is not only acceptable, it is necessary. The second speaker, Dr. Joel Hunter, expounds on Kay's statements, saying that God has given us problems so significant that no one group can solve these problems alone. I heard him speak these same words to the congregation at Northland Church when I visited. The three men have become local celebrities, but Imam Muhammad Musri found himself in tolerance efforts of global proportions when he met with the infamous Pastor Terry Jones in Gainesville, Florida. In light of the plan to build a so-called Ground Zero mosque, Jones had arranged a Quran burning on September 11, 2010. Islamic historian John Bull says Musri demonstrates the good old-fashioned American suburban reaction to controversy, which is to sit down and talk about it. It seems like such a simple concept, but communication makes a big difference in how people relate to one another. For example, how likely is it that every single person from Pastor Jones' church thought that Burn a Quran Day was a good idea? And would the planned event have even made headlines if those who were in the minority position had been given the opportunity to express their concerns? Although I do not know about the internal workings of that situation, I do know that Musri and Jones were able to diffuse the situation by simply communicating. Religion and academia have a similar problem. I recognize the sincere people involved in each system and the value of many of their studies, practices, and views. But I also see how the structure and organization of the systems inhibits necessary change. Trent de Boer, author of Shovelbum, one of the required reading texts for my anthropology class, places his hope in young archaeologists who are practiced at asking why. They're open to building a network with each other because they know what it's like to be excluded from decision-making. They know what mainstream domination means and respect the ability to tell an individual story in an intimate format. In an archaeological review from Cambridge, Nicole Boyven speaks in agreement with Boer's views. Her remarks are very somber revelation of the power at work behind the scenes. She notes that students have the least vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and she believes that long-standing and tenured academics are part of a system that is just too entrenched for them to act in advocating change.